Okay, so today we're going to focus on adding and subtracting polynomials in this video. So our goal is to be able to add and subtract polynomials. Before we get into that though, we need to recall one of our definitions that we've talked about in this polynomial unit, and that is terms. So when we talk about terms, what are we talking about? Remember, terms are groupings of numbers and variables separated by addition or subtraction. Great, awesome, glad you remember that. The reason why we care about that so much with addition and subtraction of polynomials is because to add or subtract polynomials, we need to add or subtract like terms. So we need to first understand what are terms, and then we need to understand what are like terms. And like terms are terms, makes sense, with the same variables and exponents respectively. So using that definition and these examples that I have written down here, I want you to take a second and group together the like terms. Pause the video, try that, unpause when you're ready to check. Okay, so the ones I highlighted here are the like terms. Hopefully that is what you recognize as well. And just to make sure we see that, so first we look at, okay, the terms have to have the same variables. So I can get rid of this right away, right? That's a z. This doesn't have a variable, so I can ignore that as well. And the variable or variables need to have the same exponents. This has an x to the fourth, so that is not the same as x to the third. And this is x to the negative third, which is also not the same as x to the third. So all of the ones that I've highlighted here, these would be considered like terms. Any questions? Okay. So what do we do to add or subtract polynomials? Well, adding and subtracting polynomials, we add and subtract like terms by adding and subtracting the coefficient in front of the term. So the reason why we care about having like terms is, remember, like terms is, let me back up, the variable and the exponent combination is really identifying what the term is. Think of it way back when you first just learned addition or subtraction and you talked about apples and oranges maybe. If we have like terms, those would be like apples. And then another group of like terms would be your oranges. Basically, you need to add the same things or subtract the same things. And when we are adding or subtracting, all we're doing is adding or subtracting the coefficient in front of them because we're adding or subtracting that many of that thing. The only other thing to be careful about is with subtraction, distribute the negative first. Then it really just becomes an addition problem where you might have some negative terms. So let's look at this. First one, we are going to do addition. So let's first identify any like terms. So I've got a 3x to the third and an x to the third. I've got a 2x squared and a negative 10x squared. And then I have a negative x that doesn't have anything that goes with it, so that will just stay. And I have a negative 7 and a positive 8. So let's go ahead and add these together. 3x to the third plus 1x to the third is going to be 4x to the third. 2x squared plus negative 10x squared is minus 8x squared. Negative x plus nothing is still negative x. And negative 7 plus 8 is plus 1. So that is our polynomial. Again, notice that all I'm doing is just adding the coefficients. So 1 plus 3 gave me the 4. 2 plus negative 10 gave me the negative 8. This one stayed the same, and negative 7 plus 8 was 1. I want you to try this. Pause the video. Unpause when you're ready to check. Okay, so here I have two different y squareds, so those are like terms. A y to the first and a y to the first, those are like terms. A number without a y, a number without a y, those are like terms. And then the 9y cubed, so that just stays 9y cubed. So then 3 minus 5 is negative 2y squared. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1y, and 1 plus negative 4 is negative 3. So we get 9y to the third minus 2y squared minus y minus 3. Any questions? Okay, hopefully pretty straightforward. Next, subtraction. So here we have to be careful. One, we have to be careful about the phrasing of this. So notice how it says subtract this, 2x to the third plus 6x squared minus x plus 1, from this, so 8x to the third minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 9. And the reason why I'm emphasizing that is keep in mind when we have addition, the order in which we add doesn't actually matter, right? Here, if I do 2x squared plus negative 10x squared, or if I do negative 10x squared plus 2x squared, either way it's negative 8x squared. But the order in which we subtract is very important. 5 minus 3 and 3 minus 5 are not the same thing. So we have to be careful. So there's kind of two ways we can approach this. One is I can actually write the polynomial that I'm going to subtract from on top and the other one on bottom, matching up the like terms. So in this case, again, if I just highlight my like terms first, now I could rewrite the first polynomial underneath the second polynomial, showing the subtraction. And now we can subtract. So 8 minus 2 is going to be 6x to the third. Negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9x squared. Notice here I have minus a negative, so that actually becomes plus. So negative 2 plus 1 is minus x, or minus 1. And 9 minus 1 is 8. Whoops, I forgot to write the plus 8. So our answer is this. Now, I'll be honest, I personally don't like writing the polynomial subtraction this way, but if you like it, go ahead and do that. The way I would write this out is I would actually, and I know this is a little bit more work, but rewrite it as 8x to the third minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 9 minus 2x to the third plus 6x squared minus x plus 1. And now this is what I was talking about earlier on. I would distribute the negative. And so then I can rewrite this as 8x to the third minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 9 minus 2x to the third minus 6x squared plus x minus 1. And now this really just becomes an addition problem where I'm combining like terms. Either way, I get back to my answer up here. Oops. Let's just use the highlighter. That's nice. So that should be my answer. It's up to you how you want to approach it. A lot of times we might actually see the original problem written how I have it here in the black. That's sometimes a little bit more straightforward. Either way, I want you to try B. Pause the video, unpause when you're ready to check. All right, so hopefully you got negative z squared plus 2z plus 4. So again, I chose here to do the process that I showed up here. If you chose to do this sort of process, that's fine also. It doesn't matter. You should get the same answer either way. So I just rewrote them, distribute the negative here. This becomes minus 3z squared minus z plus 4. Combine like terms, and that's how I get my answer. I know that you might be saying, well, isn't this a little bit more work to start? And yes, it is. But personally, again, I prefer it because it helps me keep things organized with my subtraction. Okay. I want you to try and do these two on your own. So notice that they're already just set up in this format. So there's no guessing on which one am I subtracting from what. Do the addition and do the subtraction. Pause the video, do them both. Unpause when you're ready to discuss. Okay, so for the first one here, hopefully you got 9x squared minus 7x minus 4. Again, here I'm just highlighting the like terms. The other thing I really want to point out, because this is going to become an issue potentially later on, hopefully not, but just pay attention to the fact that, so here we have two sets of parentheses, right? But there is addition in between them. that is huge because we're going to get to multiplication pretty quickly here. And if that addition sign is not there, then the process is very, very different. So we need to pay attention to, is there an addition or subtraction between the sets of parentheses or not? If there is not, that is implying multiplication, and again, that's very different. So just take a second, slow down, and make sure you recognize that. Here, I distributed the negative first. So this became minus 5t cubed plus t squared minus 17. Identified my like terms. The negative t didn't have a like term, so it just stays negative t. And I end up with negative 2t cubed plus 9t squared minus t minus 21. Also be careful, I know sometimes we mess up a little bit with a negative plus a negative. That's still negative, right? Or if you think of it as negative 4 minus 17, that's fine. It's still negative 21. If you are struggling with that in any way, just use your calculator to help you out. Okay, to sum that up, adding and subtracting polynomials, just add and subtract the like terms by adding or subtracting the coefficients in front of the variables. The variables themselves and the exponents do not change. With subtraction, just be careful with distributing first.